Laranja da China, laranja da China, laranja da China. Abacate, limão verde, tangerina. Laranja da China, laranja da China, laranja da China. Essencial para fazer a vitamina. This song was actually a very playful way of singing the anthem, which normally school children would do, just to poke fun at it, when my mom was in school. It is in fact a very old school thing for school kids to do. Other than that, the turbulent years of the Brazilian Republic have officially begun. You are in for a bumpy ride. You're finally gonna understand why I have been constantly saying the proclamation of the Republic between quotations. But before I get right onto the theme of the video, I have to remind you that I'm currently offering walking tours through the city of Rio, and all of them are described on my website, which the link will be in the description box below, as well as in the first fixed comment. So all you have to do is click there, text me via WhatsApp, that's very important, make your reservations, and after all that, let's get to know the city of Rio in person, folks! With me, Amanda Anderman, your trusty tour guide, of course. Now, without further ado, let's get right on to the theme of the video. The Republican movement in Brazil was basically a copy-paste of the French Revolution. Again, between quotations. Even in that, it was copy-paste. The muse of the Brazilian Republic was none other than Marianne. The very same muse of the French Republic proclaimed as well in the French Revolution. I've inserted also a picture of a real bill on purpose because, as you can see, she is also in our bills of reais. So here in Brazil, once you're here, you're gonna literally see her all day long, every single day. I will talk about that in future videos, so stay tuned for that. It was inspired by a philosophy called positivism, which also came from France. Did I mention that in this time, anything that was French was considered chic and trustworthy and what have you? There you go. This philosophy first came to be in France in the beginning of the 19th century, and it was first thought of by Auguste Comte. And it proclaimed the scientific knowledge as the only form of true knowledge, promoted the cult of science, of the human world, and of materialism, and shunned any kind of metaphysics or notions of a spiritual world. So, no religion whatsoever. That's a thing of the past, according to the positivists. Where have I seen this before? This did not age well. Their motto was love as a principle, order as a base, and progress as an objective, as an end. In fact, this motto was put in the Brazilian flag, the Brazilian Republican flag, I should say. And I have already spoken about it in the video about historic flags of Brazil, which I will leave the link for you in the cards above. Another very curious fact about positivism is that it was also applied in the legal area. As a matter of fact, it was designed to be applied in every area of life, including religion. I will talk about that in future videos, so stay tuned for that as well. But regarding legal matters, it was used very widely and very strongly, both in Brazil as well as in Europe, and the main focus was to define law as a set of rules written and given by the government authority. You see, after that whole thing that happened in World War II, which we know very well happened, I don't think I need to say that. After all that, it was highly criticized and it fell, thank goodness, because back in the 1930s, in the Constitution of the Republic of Weimar, it stated in its Article 48 the following: if security and public order are gravely disturbed, the President of the Reich can take the necessary measures for its re-establishment. With this justification, basic rights and individual freedoms could also be suspended. Once again, thank goodness it fell after World War II. Am I right? Anyways, I digress. Going back to the subject at hand.
But Amanda, you've been talking about the empire, the monarchy. It seems like a very good deal for Brazil and that things were progressing nicely. Why in the heck did people decide to proclaim a republic?
Several things led to the ones responsible for the Republican movement and the ones who supported it thinking that monarchy wasn't a good idea anymore. One of them, as I have spoken in previous videos, was the abolition of slavery. The coffee producers and great landowners of Brazil used to own slaves and didn't have to spend money on them for obvious reasons, but now they couldn't do that anymore. They had to pay for people to work for them. Because of that, they were not amused by that and started not supporting the emperor who had ended slavery and started supporting the republic instead.
If I'm gonna lose my slave owning scheme here, I might as well support the other regime.
Also, there was a big clash already during the empire between the government and the Catholic Church, which I have already spoken about in the video Praying in Rio, the imperial version, which I will leave the link in the cards for you as well. This clash was basically due to the many interferences of the imperial government in the Catholic Church. It lost the support of the church as well, which at the time was a very big deal. Also, there was a clash between the monarchy and the military authorities.
The military authorities? What did they have against the empire? After all, didn't Brazil win the Paraguay War?
Even though Brazil did win the Paraguay War, as a matter of fact, I will also leave the link for the video I made about the Paraguay War in the cards above for you in case you haven't seen that yet, so you can fill in the blanks in that case. However, after the victory, the government, imperial government I should say, was reluctant in recognizing the historic feats of the soldiers. Social tensions contributed for a big part of the Brazilian army to support the Republican government. And incidentally, I took this particular information from the official website of the Brazilian army. Sir, yes, Brazilian army, sir. Anyways, how did it happen? You may be wondering as well. The movement was thought of and put together by a group called the Military Youth, in Portuguese, Mocidade Militar, born in the military school of the Praia Vermelha, that is in Urca, by the way, which defended positivist, Republican, and abolitionist ideas, and the biggest incentive was precisely the dissatisfaction of the army after the Paraguay War. The proclamation itself, oh boy, was another blow to the monarchy, because you see, one of the main characteristics in practice of the Brazilian Republican movement was to, in all instances, erase the memory of the monarchy. It was a blatant cancel culture directed to the monarchy and the Brazilian Empire and all it stood for. With the actual proclamation, it was no different. Theodore da Fonseca proclaimed it in the Campo de Santana, the same square where before Dom João VI had been proclaimed, remember, as king of the United Kingdom of Portugal, Brazil, and the Algarve, and Dom Pedro I, as well as Dom Pedro II, had also been proclaimed. By the way, regarding Dom Pedro II coming to power officially as emperor, I have already spoken about this in the video about the coming of age coup, and I will put that on the cards as well for you to check it out.
But Amanda, what about the imperial family?
You're absolutely right in that reaction, I tell you. They were simply told in the wee hours of the morning of November 16th, by the way, the proclamation of the Republic was in November 15th, 1889.
Okay, Brazil is a republic, you're out.
Meaning they were expelled from Brazil. And gladly, they didn't resist in any way, mainly because Dom Pedro II didn't want for there to be a civil war in Brazil or anything like that. It was a good thing that they didn't resist, because there were those among the Republicans which defended that, exactly like it had been in the French Revolution, And as it would also happen in the Russian Revolution later on, the entire imperial family should be killed. But gladly, this didn't happen. And they instead were just expelled and exiled to the Austro-Hungarian Empire aboard the ship Alagoas. But as an added form of humiliation, the temporary flag of the Republican government was put on that ship. The wound was open, bleeding, so let's poke it a little more, shall we?
So the imperial family were expelled, but the people knew, right? The people supported it.
Nope. The people only knew about the proclamation after it was already proclaimed, after the Republican government was established, and they were told the following.
Hold on to your hats. This government that has been established in the most authoritarian way we can think of is only a temporary government, just to get things in order. In a short while, we will make a referendum where we will ask you, yes, you'll be able to vote, whether you want the Republican government to continue or if you want the monarchy to come back.
You believe that? If you did, you have very good heart. I tell you that, because in practice, such a referendum was only made and people were only able to vote for that literally 103 years later in 1992. I was a kid back then. You can see the gap between what was promised and what was done. Now, you tell me, leave it in the comment section below, if the Republic in Brazil was or wasn't established with a blatant military coup. This concludes this video about the proclamation of the Republic in Brazil, and I hope you liked the video. And if you did like the video, hit that like button, then right after that hit that subscribe button, but most importantly hit multiple times on that share button so that you can share this with as many people as possible, so that each time more people may know about the wonders of the wonderful city. And as usual in this channel, I'll see you in the next video. Bye!